Welcome into the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. As I'm going way too early today, but my name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me here on the show. I want to welcome into the program today the coach of USC Sumter, of course, my friend, Coach Tim Medlin. Coach, how are you, sir?
Wonderful, Rob. How about you?
I'm jealous of you today because you get to actually be out on the diamond. I know you're getting ready to go to practice here shortly, so thanks for taking some time out for us today.
Absolutely, man. Glad to.
All right, I got to ask you, we're seeing a lot of, and a lot of it we're catching on the football field now, where young men are heading to the transfer portal. Coach Dave Clawson up at Wake Forest called it the trash portal, which is a comedy way of looking at it, but the transfer portal it's all over the place with baseball too. What is your opinion of the transfer portal, and do you think it works?
Wow, Rob, there are always some cases where it's going to work. Unfortunately, all too often, young men are looking for somebody to tell them what they want to hear. So in their mind, the best way to fix that is move to another school. And that's not always the case. And a lot of times these guys find out that the grass is not always greener on the other side. And unfortunately, the best answer for most of them, hey, is work a little harder, make some changes in what you're doing in terms of maybe it's your swing, maybe it's, just your work habits, and stick it out and win a job. Unfortunately, most guys don't want to do that. Most guys are looking to move, and there are a lot of things that go on out there where one coach may actually not speak to just that kid, but might talk to somebody who knows that kid, and things are, again, it can really get twisted, and unfortunately, things don't always work out the way you hope they do for a young man, and there are a lot of situations out there where, unfortunately, it just does not work out. Things get lost in the transfer in terms of, a guy may not have done as well academically as you hoped he would. Then next thing you know, he transfers and he loses some more credit hours in the transfer. One school doesn't accept what another school was doing. So it can really get complicated. It really can.
Do you think on the college baseball front, there's going to be basically a plethora of talent out there with COVID-19, and a lot of the young men are given that extra year of eligibility, and the shorter draft that we had last season? Is there going to be a lot of baseball players that are going to be? It's going to be tough for them to find a spot.
Well, not only that, but you've got guys who are still playing at the collegiate level, who most of us thought were going to be in some level of professional baseball. Of course, that's been cut back. You've got less minor league teams. You've got less spots for those guys. So those guys came back. So that's at the four-year schools. Then you've got some of these junior college kids that, a lot of people thought, well, they'll sign with a four-year school. Well, that didn't happen last spring. So those guys are back. And now you've got incoming freshmen at all levels. And a lot of the four-year schools had to tell freshmen, hey, look, we don't have a spot for you. So those guys have ended up at a two-year school or maybe a smaller four-year school. And it really has created a logjam everywhere. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't see a great, destination or answer for this right now. Hopefully, it all kind of levels out, but I think that's at least 12 to 24 months down the road. I don't think we're going to see it all even out in the next season. It's probably going to be spring of 22 or spring of 23 before it really evens out.
With that, though, with the log jam of talent that's all over the place, or young men, however you want to put it, first of all, do you have any guys that did the 2 years with you that are coming back for year three? Do you have any players that are doing that?
Well, fortunately, we were able to find places for our guys to play last year, or they've hooked up somewhere. at a 4-year school. So, we don't have too many cases. We got one case of that, and that's a young man that was injured last spring. So he's back for his 3rd year here. But it's only the 2nd year he's played. He played in 2019. He's a left-handed pitcher that hopefully we can find him a home after this year. He'll have 3 years of eligibility left at the D2 level. He'll have 2 years of eligibility left at the Division I level. And hopefully we can find him a spot. Oh, and 3 years of eligibility at the NAIA level. So it's really tough to keep up with right now. It really is, because you've got different guidelines. NCAA Division I is going to accept guys with 1 year of play. They're going to accept those guys as having 3 years left. If these guys that are back to their 2nd year, and even though the NJCAA is not going to charge them with a year of eligibility, NCAA Division I is. And you've got, it's really complicated right now. You got to have a rule book on hand just to get through all this, give guys straight answers.
It's a mess across the board, but you also have to deal with scholarships too. Yes, they were granted that year of eligibility, but from what I've read, they didn't really give you, or maybe I'm missing this, you didn't get extra scholarships to play with, right?
No, none of us did.
Yeah. So, that makes it really hard, because you've got available players, but in the end, you don't have any way to help them pay for school.
Well, and again, that's at every level. You've got guys trying to figure out spots at places like South Carolina, Clemson, College of Charleston, Coker, Francis Marion, Newberry, Florence Darlington Tech, USC Sumter, and nobody got additional funding. So, everybody's looking, trying to figure out ways, and you're trying to do what's best for young men. And that's tough when you start looking at a group of 35 guys. It's really hard to get to a situation where everybody's going to be happy, and it's not going to happen.
It just, across the board right now, it just seems to be crazy is the best term that I can use for it. Tell us about some of the protocols you guys are going to have to go through to play. It seems like there's just so many hoops you guys have to jump through just to be able to get out onto the field and practice, right?
Oh, there's no doubt. We're taking we start the day at 6 a.m. in the weight room, and we're taking temperatures and recording temperatures right then. We're taking temperatures and recording temperatures, again, before practice. If a guy does not hit the number, doesn't get to practice, we shut him down, have to quarantine him until he comes back with a positive test. We're testing every week now. So we've got to have guys that are going to pass the test and be able to meet those guidelines every day. And I'm going to tell you, it's tough when you're dealing with 35, 40 guys like we all are. It really gets to be tough. It really does.
Well, but then it gets even tougher when you have to play a game against someone else, because let's say that you are doing everything that you can to make sure that, COVID is taken seriously, but you may end up playing teams that don't, and it could endanger your team as well, right? That's something that you got to think about, right?
Especially at our level, you're going to run into situations where you're going to deal with some coaches and some players who are not going to take it seriously and who are not going to follow protocol. And, we have to wear masks in the dugout area. Players on the field don't have to wear them, but we also have to, quiz the opposing coach prior to them coming that, hey, all your guys that you're bringing have passed tests correct, and that they all are following protocol, that you are going to do what we request in the ballpark. So it's, believe me, we're doing a lot more than just coaching baseball right now, unfortunately.
But the cost of this has to be a lot on a program. I mean, I wonder, is there regulations on, I mean, do you have to change baseballs more? I mean, I know it sounds silly, but, just thinking from that perspective, I mean, the cost has to be outstanding.
Well, the number one cost right away is travel. If you are going on the road, and believe me, at this level, we haven't always had 2 guys to a room. There have been 4 guys to a room. So again, when you start looking at the cost of a hotel rooms for a road trip, you were always looking at, for a night around $1,000. Okay, well now that's doubled, because now you got to have 2 guys in a room, 1 guy per bed. So everything's doubled up right away. Now that's up to $2,000. So you're booking twice as many rooms. And believe me, we play in towns, and we have hotels that really work with us and give us a discounted rate, but it still adds up. Now we've got to test more. So again, that's a cost that you got to incur. And we're lucky. The University of South Carolina system is really good about testing for all students. It's available. So we managed to matriculate through that system, and we get the results back in 2 days. So that's a huge plus. So we're not having to do that. Now, you start looking at the SEC level, the ACC, the mid-major Division I's. Hey, they're having to test twice a week. Okay, well, school's not covering all of that. So those folks in the athletic department are having to incur a lot of extra costs. So just depending on the level, everything's a little different.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Since I've got you here, I got to ask you a couple of other little questions here that are baseball related. You and I debated a little bit before about the DH rule, and I feel like I'm the old man on the lawn saying, "To heck with you and your DH." But it was interesting that in the latest deal with the Players Association, they didn't add the permanent DH in there. Were you kind of surprised by that?
I'll be honest with you, I really was, because at every other level of baseball, everybody uses the DH. And I was really shocked that, the National League still holding out, not going to give in. And it was a surprise. It really was.
It made me happy. I have to, I know that sounds like I'm just in this for myself, but it made me happy to an extent. But of course, I'm a Braves fan, and they just signed Marcell Ozuna, who may be the worst outfielder as far as fielding goes in the pros. I mean, that's some of the stuff that I've read about him. And now knowing that he's going to have to be out there in left field for the Braves, I thought about it. I'm like, he may cost us 2 or 3 games a year. That may happen now that he can't just be the DH.
He 12 or 15 swinging the bat, so he can swing it.
He can definitely swing it. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, that's some crazy stuff there. Well, Coach,
Rob, I got to ask you: Are you running all the neighborhood kids off your lawn every day too?
No, I've got my own kids. They can run them off for me. No, I've always been a stickler about the DH, man. I guess just growing up and being a fan of a National League team, and then I always think that the American League has an advantage in the World Series because they've managed to have another guy that can just swing the bat in their lineup, whereas National League teams aren't built that way. So it's always just bothered me.
Those National League teams have got guys sitting over there in that dugout that are professional hitters, and they may not have gotten 500 ABs during a season, but they haven't forgotten how to hit. And believe me, they're working on their craft every day, just like those everyday players are. And to be honest with you, I mean, that playing every day for those guys, especially if you've got that 35-year-old right-handed pinch hitter over there that was an everyday player for 12 years, that guy hadn't forgotten how to hit, believe me.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'm just the old man traditionalist now, even though I don't feel like I'm that old, but maybe I'm getting old, sir. I'm trying. I'm really trying.
You're not old yet, but there, it's hard to see games change, but everything's changed. It still drives me nuts to hear, NFL people brag about the fact that we're scoring more points and we're more popular now than we've ever been. Yeah, you're scoring more points and you're giving up more yards because you changed all the rules to allow the offense to run free. And, I think how many times the other night I watched defensive holding penalties in a playoff game, and when I was 20 years old, that was called bump and run coverage.
Yeah.
And, now you can't touch them. So those offenses and, the numbers for my old favorite Johnny Unitas pale in comparison to what these young cats are doing.
Well, you got guys like Ronnie Lott who couldn't play now. I'm serious. Like guys like that could go out there and as physical as they were, they couldn't play now. Kevin Garnett mentioned in an interview he did the other day, he's like, guys from my generation in the NBA couldn't play now because if you touch somebody, it's a foul. The least little bump is a foul. So
yeah, we've tried to make it. I call it social media generation friendly.
Okay.
And everybody wants to talk about offense. Everybody wants to talk about numbers. They want to see a point a second. They want to be entertained. And they don't see great defense as entertaining. They don't see great pitching as entertaining. They want to see 3-run homers. They want to see the 3-ball go up. And I'm sorry, but you know what? Not everybody can shoot the 3, and not everybody can score 30 a night. So you got to be able to do some little things. You got to be able to bunt runners over. You got to be able to move guys. You got to find other ways because I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear anybody tell me about how good a hitter Aaron Judge is when he's striking out 200 times in a season.
That's true.
Okay, my argument is really simple. Hank Aaron never struck out 100 times in a season. Don't compare Aaron Judge to a guy like Aaron, to a guy like Mays. Barry Bonds, for all the criticism he gets about the inflated numbers, people don't realize Barry Bonds only had one season in his major league career where he hit over 50 home runs.
Yeah.
And that was the year he hit 73.
That's right.
Okay. Barry Bonds only struck out 100 times his rookie year. After that, never again. So, I don't want to hear people telling me that analytics is the answer. It's not the be-all, end-all. You've got to have some logic along with it.
Well, they did have to make a helmet 4 times the size for his head, though. We have to take that into account as well. his head shrunk when he left the game
in Pittsburgh. So before he did all the drugs, and he was a 3-time MVP, and that guy was a great player. And
he was.
Doesn't get enough credit, and I understand what they're doing. But look, Major League Baseball, they were the ones that enabled all those guys to do that. And the Sosas, the McGuires, the Bonds, all the other things that went on with it, some of the pitchers that also used PEDs. So, for me now, for them to, force them out, they're talking out of both sides of their neck.
You're right about that, because they sure were benefiting when basically McGuire and Sosa brought people back after the strike. So people seem to forget
absolutely.
that. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, I'm going to let you go to practice, man, and I appreciate you making some time for us. And as always, you're always welcome to come in studio if you want to talk baseball or even professional wrestling. We'd love to have you in studio.
Well, I tell you what, Rob, we get through this thing, and we're going to come back and see you. I'm looking forward to it, and we're just thrilled to be able to play right now. We've gotten 4 games in. We're 3-1 right now, and we're playing well, and we've got some talented young men and some guys that are really working their tails off to handle all the COVID restrictions and all the protocols. So we're pretty proud of them right now, and we're excited about it. We think we will be able to put a lot of them in some really good 4-year programs next year.
Coach Tim Medlin from USC Sumter with the Fire Ants. Appreciate you joining us here this afternoon, Coach.
Rob, have a great day.
Thank you, man. It's always great to talk with Coach Tim Medlin, the coach of USC Sumter. And you get the inside look there on what coaches are having to deal with on the COVID front. We see the finished product when, the guys walk out on the field and it looks like it's all right, except for not the crowd being there. It's kind of the same thing. But you gotta take into account what the coaches and the players are having to do just to get to that point where they can play. It is it's a mess. That's the best word I can use. All right, quick break. When we come back, we have more for you here on the Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Coach Medlin smart. What's up, JW? What's up there, Bama boy? Appreciate you, man. Hey, I just got the projections for the SEC for baseball season. What's up, Brock? Alabama's picked to finish 7th in the West. Your thoughts? Oh, thank you, Edwin. It's well, I know you Bama fans are Alabama wins everything, right? No, but it's interesting. We're gonna go over this when we come back, but I love the preseason polls. I save them because I vote in them too, but it's like there's points where I know that I'm wrong. I wish that they would release everyone's ballot like they do with the coaches, because I think a lot of people, they don't take these things seriously. And I'm not saying it should be an end-all be-all thing, but if you're given the opportunity to vote in these polls, it puts a projection on what these teams are, and it can help in things like recruiting. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people will just basically, they do things and then they put out their stuff that's just not exactly the most bright in the world, in my opinion. So anyway, I wish that would there was a little bit more of that, to be honest with you. Let's see here. There we go. They'll be lucky to do that. Yeah. But Alabama should be able to get some good baseball players. I mean, hell, Vanderbilt puts together a good team every year, you know? So, I mean, there's that. Just saying. It's interesting, though. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Ladies and gentlemen, we had our first guest on for basically some college baseball talk there with Coach Tim Medlin. If you missed it, shame on you, but don't worry, I'll look out for you. And I've got the podcast. It'll be up for you about 5 o'clock today. Download and listen to the podcast. You can also archive the podcast in your stuff there if I say something absurdly stupid, and you can bring it back to haunt me later on. Rob, on February the 11th, you said blah, 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 and that did not happen. That makes you dumb. And then I have to say, yes, I was dumb on February the 11th. I'm sorry. So, yeah, we can do that for you. Anyway, the SEC baseball coaches preseason poll came out today. And in the East, they pick Florida to win the East, followed by Vanderbilt, Tennessee, South Carolina at 4th, Georgia at 5th, Mizzou at 6th, Kentucky at 7th. In the West, they like Ole Miss, followed by Mississippi State, Arkansas, and LSU. And then Texas A&M, Auburn, and Alabama. I think LSU should be a little bit higher than that, but I look at the 3 teams in front of them. Ole Miss is pretty good. I mean, they're a I think a preseason team that could possibly make it to Omaha. So anyway, there's that. Then you've got as we roll along here, the SEC championship votes, the Florida is the overall champion, followed by Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. Out to the phones we go, 803-978-1832. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Rob, it's Bobby. How you doing? You got time to pull away from baseball?
Yeah, of course. What you got, Bobby?
Okay, three quick things. You see the MEAC pretty much shut down for the spring football, but there are 4 teams in South Carolina State. The Bulldogs are one of them. They're going to essentially cancel their planned spring season.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up that stuff later on where we're supposed to have a full slate of FCS stuff, but we may not. But what's your second?
I sent you something. Something like 90 teams are essentially canceling, but 31 are decided they're going to try and play some kind of schedule.
Yep.
Okay, but here's one thing: not to jump on Tennessee, but Casey Rogers, Tampa Bay, the Super Bowl champs. Guess he played there. So their defensive line coach, they're looking at him being the defensive coordinator now for his alma mater, Tennessee Volunteers. So I don't know if you saw that before you went on the air. I got it to you. And then another interesting story, and this is really interesting. I guess he has Central Florida ties, but Jeff Levy, if I'm saying that right, Ole Miss's offensive coordinator, possibly is going to, it hasn't been announced today, but he's supposedly going to be Central Florida's new head coach.
Yeah, I did read about that, and that's going to be interesting too, man. But, I don't even know where to go with Tennessee at this point. I mean, the Tennessee media up there is trying to feed us all this, it's really chicken salad when in reality it's chicken something else.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying it for a second. So
doesn't really matter. I mean, they're the Gamecocks competition, so keep losing. I mean, one more win for the Gamecocks every year. I look at it that way.
Yeah.
But also, what a spot Jeff Levy's in, because that's talent rich around Orlando.
Certainly is.
If he sticks and stays and he doesn't get lured by a bigger program, I mean, he could win for years in the American Athletic. I mean, that AAC, not ACC, for anybody listening out there. And one other quick note today, sure. Oklahoma, Nebraska, we're both old enough to remember that was a Big 8 rivalry. They will recommence that rivalry.
Good. They need to.
Yep. All right.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
Appreciate it. Bobby always bringing us some good stuff here. Anyway, back to my baseball. SEC championship votes: Florida, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. Florida is picked as your champion. So there's that. All right, we've got the ACC stuff. I've got that on my blog page along with the SEC predictions at foxsportsradio1400.com. Clubs is picked to finish in the middle of the pack in the ACC. They've got the Tigers at 4th in the Atlantic behind Louisville, NC State, and Florida State. Then Clemson, of course, Wake Forest, Boston College, and Notre Dame. Also, Miami, Virginia leads the Coastal Division. Georgia Tech, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. Here's the crazy thing with this stuff. If you go to, it's funny because if you watch any ACC games, the SEC, when you look at it, there was one of the interesting things about that is that 11 SEC teams have been ranked in the top 25 of the preseason college baseball polls. So there's a lot of talent in the SEC. In the ACC, baseball is not taken as seriously. And people get mad at me when I say that. Yes, you've got Miami. They're a traditional power. Virginia's always really good. Same thing for Georgia Tech. North Carolina, they're always really good. Do yourself a favor. When you're out there and you're talking about, man, this team did this well in the ACC. They play baseball, but in reality, it's almost like a club sport at some schools. And I know people get upset when I say that. When you go to Virginia Tech and you look at their box scores on the weekends, they'll have 50 people that will come to a game. I've had more people come to T-ball games here in Columbia, but their announced attendance is 50 people. Same thing for Boston College. Boston College and Clemson had a series there. I think it was 2 years ago. I looked at the box score, 34 people. No one cares about baseball up there for a lot of these teams. So that's why a lot of times you'll see the ACC teams, they'll come up short. And I know I'm on the adage that the conference superiority, it doesn't mean as much in football because everyone plays, but in baseball, it's different. And baseball is a regional sport, by the way. And that's a big deal because only a certain part of the country plays it. But up at Virginia Tech and Boston College and Pitt and Notre Dame, they just don't care. And it kind of brings down the conference a little bit. The cream of the crop will rise to the top eventually in the conference, but you know, that's why you'll see a lot of games, especially the Sunday games when the pitching's worn out. You'll have a lot of 33-5 games. It's kind of a mess. Anyway, Tyler Crowder, host of Kicking It With Crowder, joins us. An interesting take from what happened this morning with an interview with a former Jets GM about where Deshaun Watson will play. We'll talk about that and a lot more. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. What's wrong with you, Brock? I'm not boo-hooing. I'm just spitting facts. You don't like facts? Sorry. That may be the quote for the win there. Very good, Spectral Tiger. You know I'm picking at you, right, Brock? Calm down with all that. Hey, can you guys like the video? Doesn't cost much to click the like button. That would be cool of you guys. If you would click the like button there. That would be awesome. Or don't like it and pretend you hate us. That's fine too. I've never understood like the whole liking, not liking thing on it's like you have to remind people like if I watch your video for more than 30 seconds, I'm going to click like. You've entertained me for 30 seconds and it doesn't cost me anything. So maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just whacked out of my skull when I come to that. Alan, you got to listen to the podcast, man, or you can go back. I guess you can go back and watch it on the YouTube channel there. It'll be posted forever. So go and check that out.
Sports radio done only the way Fox can do it. Always something to talk about. There's always controversy. You're listening to Fox.
I get it, man. You watch all the time, man. You're cool with me, Brock. Welcome back to the Rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Get to talk to my friend Tyler Crowder. Tyler, what's going on, man? The host of Kicking It With Crowder joins us. How you doing there, buddy?
What's up, Rob? Thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, man, it's great to chat with you today. Hopefully you're being healthy, as I want everybody to be healthy in the middle of the pandemic, even though I think we're getting towards the end of it. But, hey, I want to talk with you about some stuff, man. Former Jets GM this morning came on ESPN's Get Up program and said that he thinks the New England Patriots are going to do anything and everything within their power to get Deshaun Watson. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it would be a smart move from the New England Patriots to try to get Deshaun Watson. Their GM now has that New England connection, so that's always something to look out for. That was a big move with the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams, of course, because the new Detroit GM came from LA, so there's a connection there. So that's something to watch out for. I'm not sure Deshaun Watson may want to go to New England, and he does have a no trade clause, so he could nix that if he wanted to. But yeah, anytime you can get one of the top 2 to 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League, I think you need to call at least and see where it is. But Deshaun Watson's a heck of a talent. Knew he was when he came out of Clemson. Should have been a much higher draft pick than he was. But man, Deshaun Watson is a heck of a quarterback, Rob, and New England would be excited to get him. That's for sure.
Well, and here's my other thing with that. If it does happen, I picture it's going to be like the old Star Wars, the Star Wars piece where, they're waiting to go into the town and they ask, the droid tells them, stop, what do you want? Or give me your papers. And the Jedi Master says, you don't need our papers. Everything is within order. I could see Bill Belichick talking to the general manager for the Houston Texans and saying, you don't need 4 first-round draft picks. 2 will be enough for you. And then they'll just repeat back, yes, we don't need 4 first-round draft picks. 2 will be enough for us. I think that's exactly what's going to happen there. And they may get him for a little bit of nothing because that's what the Patriots do. So, but I don't think Belichick's going to sift through another season like he did last year. I just don't think that's going to happen.
No, he's going to have to go out and get a quarterback. Cam Newton, I love Cam Newton. He was great at Auburn, great early on in his career, had an MVP with the Carolina Panthers. But it just seems to me like, his arm strength, his body, all the shots he's taken. Maybe he stays on the roster, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring either a free agent in or try to trade or move up in the draft. I mean, they're going to do something, like you said. And I just don't know if Cam Newton's part of the equation. I don't know if Jarrett Stidham, a guy who came out from Baylor and then Auburn, of course, I'm not sure if he's the answer either. So I'm not sure the quarterback of the future is in that quarterback room right now. Of course, Jimmy Garoppolo, San Francisco's trying to get rid of him. Will Bill Belichick call and try to get him back, even though they traded him to him a few years ago? That's something to look out for. But yeah, the quarterback, you have to have a quarterback in the National Football League. And, you look who wins it every year, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, most of the times you're going to have a top quarterback in the National Football League.
Speaking of which, the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, and, I've always been a guy, I guess I've been hard on Tom Brady, and a lot of it this year was because he put my Packers out of the playoffs. I can admit that I'm a fan, and my fandom kind of got to me a little bit. But, yesterday, his celebration that he had where Tom Brady looked like he was loaded. There's reports that he bought $3,000 worth of Taco Bell, and he's stumbling to go from one boat to another, and he threw the Vince Lombardi trophy from one boat to another. This is the most human we've ever seen Tom Brady, and it makes me like him a little bit more. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, and what's it called? I don't know why I just went blank right now, but Leonardo DiCaprio when he gets messed up and he's in the Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's the Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, that's like my favorite movie. It went blank for a second. Wolf of Wall Street. That's what it reminded me of, man. And the guy just kind of escorting him through. That was awesome to see. Tom Brady, of course, he won 6 in New England, but that's the most fun I've ever seen him have at one of these parades, for sure. He looks like he's having more fun now than he's ever had. And, just to talk about that performance against Kansas City, his offense played very well, but the storyline was the defense, what the defense was able to do, shut down Patrick Mahomes. The offensive tackles absolutely got abused on the outside, and Tyreek Hill was a non-factor, and it was just unreal to watch. They had so many quarterback pressures. I think they had 28 to 30 pressures on Patrick Mahomes, while Brady only had 5. I mean, that's the big difference in the game right there. And,
Yep.
Tom Brady, I didn't like the New England Patriots very much. I'm not a huge Brady fan, but it's hard not to respect the guy at this point. He's by far the best quarterback in the National Football. I mean, he's by far. I used to be a Peyton Manning guy. Okay,
Right.
I used to always say Peyton Manning was better than Tom Brady.
No.
It's hard to say that at this time. I can't do it anymore. And Tom Brady is the best quarterback that I've seen. The way he competes and goes out there and rallies his men around him, it's something else to watch, man.
Brock online, by the way, says Taco Bell is cheap. He thinks $3,000 of Taco Bell can feed all of Africa. Brock with the line of the day. Appreciate the folks watching on Facebook and YouTube today. But yeah, I mean, I just liked him a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe it was seeing the more personal side of him, and then he's going to throw the trophy, and his daughter's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And of course, I'm like, if I'm Tom Brady, I'm like, man, I've won 7 Super Bowls with this arm. I think I can make this throw. And he did. And luckily his tight end over there caught it. Can you imagine if the Lombardi trophy would have fell into the ocean? Oh man, what a disaster that would have been.
What if Gronk would have dived in after it? That would have been even better.
I think the drunkards would have jumped in to try to go after it right there in the middle of the bay. What a mess.
And that's another thing. Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady, none of these guys were on Tampa Bay last year.
Yeah, that's true.
So people say, hey, this roster was the exact same as last year. That's not true. Jameis Winston, people just give him a lot of flack, but they put all the pieces around him already. This team was built for the most part, but then the GM went out and got Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady trusts all these guys he brought in around him, and they clicked at the right time. There were times during the season where, they did not look like a Super Bowl team. The New Orleans Saints exposed them twice during the regular season. And then, at the end of the day, they won 8 straight and they got hot at the right time. And that's normally what happens, Rob. The best team doesn't always win. The hottest team normally does. And that's what happened. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were ready. And, hey, they're not going anywhere. This Buccaneers team, I don't see Tom Brady retiring. And I'm being dead serious, Rob. This guy's going to play till he's 50. I mean, it's unreal what he's doing. He's 43 years old, and you can't even tell. I mean, I really think the guy could play another 5 years. I could see him playing till he's like 47, 48. I mean,
we'll have to see if that happens. If he gets to that point, I mean, he should be the league's all-time leading passer, all-time leader in wins, all-time leader in Super Bowls. I mean, what else could he possibly? I mean, he'll have if he plays till he's 47, he's going to have like a 25-year career. I
really feel like he will. 5 years ago, I thought he was done. I thought he was going to retire. Yeah. And now he's won 3 Super Bowls. I mean, it's unreal.
It is unreal, but I go back to Father Time, and I remember Brett Favre in his final season with the Minnesota Vikings played lights out pretty much throughout the year, and then met the Saints in the I think it was the NFC Championship game, and just got beat senseless. And that one game can take the life out of you. So we'll have to see about that. One final question for Tyler Crowder, host of Kicking It with Crowder. Find his podcast, Kicking It with Crowder, on the iHeartRadio app, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever else you can get your favorite podcast. Tyler is there for you. Trevor Lawrence has a big workout tomorrow where the ESPN is basically making it Trevor Lawrence Day on the ACC network and ESPN2. They're going to broadcast his entire pro day. And he's going to throw, even though he has issues with a torn labrum. Do you think that there's any shot in the world that the Jacksonville Jaguars will not take Trevor Lawrence at number 1, even though he does have those issues with his non-throwing shoulder?
You can go ahead and lock it, book it. He's going number 1, signed, sealed, and delivered. He's going to be the number 1 pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not even a question. The guy could have been the number 1 pick, I think 3 years ago after his freshman year. I mean, he's going to go number 1. I'm not scared of the labrum issue. Modern science these days is better than it's ever been. They'll be able to fix that easily, and he'll be able to come back, make it hopefully before the beginning of the season. And he's throwing for all 32 NFL teams tomorrow, but let's just be for real. He's throwing for Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this Jaguars team has a lot of cap space. They got a new GM, new head coach. This team's going to be looking to spend some money and get to Trevor Lawrence some weapons. They already have James Robinson, a nice little running back. Can they get another receiver out on the outside to go with DJ Shark? And then you got to rebuild this defense. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's going to be a nice little rebuild for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I said it at the beginning of the year. I thought Jacksonville was going to be the worst team. They almost ended up not being, but they did secure the first pick. And Trevor Lawrence is going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Book it, Rob. There's no way he's not going number one.
All right, Tyler Crowder, host of Kicking It with Crowder, joining us here on the Rundown. Tyler, tell folks where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, man. Kicking It with Crow on Twitter. Also on YouTube, Kicking It with Crowder, guys. You can find me anywhere you get your podcast. And, listen today.
All right, Tyler. Thanks for joining us on the Rundown, buddy. Really appreciate it.
All right, Rob. See you next week, man.
All right, there you go. Tyler Crowder joining us here on the Rundown. We appreciate him as always. I think Tyler's right about that. There's some rumbling out there that, tomorrow is a big deal, and your pro day is always a big deal. I'm just saying. It really is. But I bet Trevor Lawrence shines tomorrow and gets that little bit of dust off of him that he has because of the labrum thing. Because you have to admire his grit, too. I wonder, and it hasn't been put out there yet, did he play in the college football playoff with that torn labrum? If so, and you find out about that, kid's tough as nails. That's exactly what you want in a player, in my opinion. Go get it fixed. Modern science, as he said, of course, we can cure everything but the common cold. But if you have a torn ligament, we can fix it. And I think that's kind of the way it is, and it's on the non-throwing shoulder anyway. So we'll see how that works out. All right, quick break, and we come back. Final segment of the Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. I agree with you, Victor P., on that. If he dropped the trophy in the ocean, he'd go to the Well, I mean, I think they'd find somebody to get it. Have some diver going down to get it. That's probably what would happen. I wonder what the Super Bowl trophy's made of. I'm looking that up right now. Yeah, it's made out of sterling silver. So if it does go into the ocean, I don't think it's going to corrode in a matter of a day. JW's right. You get 6 more if he loses it. We'll just go with the one from 4 years ago when I beat the Falcons senseless. Man, the Falcons sure thought they had a chance too. What a disaster that was. Oh, goodness. I've got the all SEC poll, by the way. Edwin said something earlier about LSU's pitching staff, and he's right. I would like to think the NFC West with the Cardinals and the Seahawks and the Rams. But I think the Rams are going to be really good next year. They actually have a quarterback that has a pulse. They actually have a quarterback who cares. They haven't had that in a while. So, yeah, I really believe that. Yeah, you're talking about in Division I. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that as far as conferences go, I mean, I think the SEC is Alabama's and then pretty much everybody else. until LSU can show me that they're going to get off the mat, I don't really trust anybody else in that conference. I think Jimbo Fisher's a fraud, and the East is garbage. Georgia's got to get their stuff together. I mean, they've got the talent, but we'll see. Got to show me first. Final segment of the rundown this afternoon. Some major college football news today. The recruiting dead period. The NCAA Football Oversight Committee has recommended an extension. So basically what that means is that a dead period in recruiting means prospects are not allowed to make official or unofficial visits to campus. So coaches are also not allowed to hit the road and recruit during a dead period. Any in-person contact between coaches and prospects is illegal during a dead period. Now, what does this mean? Today, the Oversight Committee recommended that the dead period be extended to May 31st. It was set to April the 15th, but now it's up to May 31st. Quote, due to ongoing uncertainty surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and concern regarding in-person interaction among prospective, there we go, learn the English language, Rob, student athletes, institutional staff, and student athletes. So the Division I Council, they can make a ruling on what to do with the dead period. The decision on that is supposed to be next week. It's interesting. During his National Signing Day press conference, Jimbo Fisher said the Aggies were hoping to be able to host recruits for Texas A&M's upcoming spring game. And that's big because across the country, that's like one of the big things. And if you around here, if you follow Clemson, they have like, what is it? They always seem to get some recruit that commits during the spring game. And they have a lot of guys that are in there. So basically, I think their mentality is that they're going to put a cut to guys coming to spring games for football. I think that's what the end of this here is, what it comes down to. So we'll see how that works out. Remember, Clemson starts their spring practice in 2 weeks? Their spring game is, I think, April the 4th. South Carolina starts March 20th. Their game is April 24th, I believe. So there's that. So that's kind of a big deal because that hinders recruiting a lot. So we'll see how that trends out. Question from someone on YouTube today. What's your favorite game all time? As far as baseball goes, the Francisco Cabrera game from 1991 or 90, it was in 92, where Francisco Cabrera hit a ball and Barry Bonds couldn't throw out one-legged Sid Bream from deep short. Probably my favorite game ever. Brock with a comment that hurts South Carolina because their facilities are a big selling point. It also hurts recruits because they need to see if they like the city, town, the college that they're in. You know, Coach Sweeney said this with his signing day class. Like 8 of the recruits that they signed have never stepped foot on the campus. So that's something that's happening across college football. But I do agree with Brock because South Carolina poured all that money into that facility, and not to be able to show that off is tough. It really is. You're going to have to get creative. I've seen one of the virtual tours that they have for the Gamecock facility. It's really interesting. It doesn't give you that feel, though. It's not the same thing as putting your feet on the ground and looking up and seeing all this great stuff. It's not like that. But, yeah, I think it does hurt some schools where they can roll out there, hey, check out our facilities. Our facilities are absolutely awesome. That's a big thing with it, too. All right, so tomorrow on the program, we wrap up the week. We're going to have some basketball talk. We've got Clemson playing Georgia Tech tomorrow night. Clemson, by the way, projected as a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament. We were just talking like 2 weeks ago about how Brad Brownell is probably going to get canned. Now they're projected as a 6th seed in the tournament. It's amazing what 2 conference wins in a row can do for you. And if you look at the rest of Clemson's schedule, if they win, 3 out of the last 5, they could possibly be a 5 seed, maybe a 4 seed, depending how things come out. All right, so don't forget Clemson Sports Talk coming up next with Lawton Swan. He is the czar of Clemson sports. Be sure to check him out as he gets you set up for your ride home on the vast Clemson Sports Talk Radio Network. Oh, yes, speak louder.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
All right. Follow Lawton at Clemson Sports. My name is Rob Sanders. This is The Rundown. We will be back with you tomorrow on Fox Sports Radio 1400.